All right, welcome in. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 60, coming to you from the Pine Room Studio, downtown Wheeling on Halloween here as we have a few alterations to the normal schedule. So normally we'd tape on a Wednesday. We're taping on Tuesday today. I'm going to be out of town for the rest of the week, so just wanted to make sure we got all of our picks in and everything. Sam will be joining me later in the program. Coach and Chris are out today with other things going on. Again, it's not our normal schedule. Normally we do the regular podcast on a Tuesday and Bettor's Last Stand Wednesday when a little bit more information's out, lines and things like that on some of the weekly type events. But we're going to do the best we can here. Got a lot of data anyway, so we're ready to go. We had a strong week last week, up 13 units, 13.7 to be exact. Sam had a good positive ROI in NASCAR. As usual, had a couple down weeks, but he's back in the win column there, so that was a strong week for him. He had Gabe Davis anytime touchdown. If you had that on the Thursday night game, the show didn't come out till Friday, but we put that one out on the social media on I think either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Should have had that one. He was up over 2 units on the week himself. Coach 5-5 in college football, 2-3 in the NFL, minus 180 on the week. He was 0-2 on his best bets, so he'll sharpen up, I'm sure. Chris 5-4 in college football last week, 2-3 in the NFL. And he was minus 170, down about 1.7 units on the week. Best bets, though, for Chris, 2-0 on the week. Was college and pro best bet both got there. I had a decent week, 6-2 in college football, 5-2 in the NFL. Had Ryan Blaney in NASCAR. We got a future ticket on Ryan Blaney to win the championship, so that was big that he won at Martinsville on Sunday. He's into the Final Four on next Sunday, I guess this coming Sunday at Phoenix as the NASCAR season concludes, which is kind of sad. They're down to the Final Four. We're going to talk with Sam about that one, too. You got Kyle Larson, Chris Bell, William Byron, and Ryan Blaney still left in the chase. So should be one last exciting race for NASCAR. I was up about 15.5 units, 15.20 units, 2-0 in the best bets. So a pretty strong week. Overall best bets on the season, I'm 8-4. Coach 4-6. Chris 5-4-1. Again, remember our Football Friday show. Fridays usually from Gumby's, one of the Gumby's. Depending on the weather this week, Jarrett and Coach and Jubb will be handling that. I'll be calling in as I'll be out of town. But we'll be giving our Duggar Saucy Spread Challenge week number 11 picks as Kayleen continues to lead the chase. So if you haven't tuned into Football Fridays, we talk comprehensive about high school football. We got Ohio playoffs in week 2 right now, West Virginia's final week of the regular season. And then we'll touch on college football, pro football. We got the Wheeling Nailers segment that we're going to be adding to the show, nailing it down. So again, thanks to them for their sponsorship. Thanks to IC Cab for everything they've done for us across Bettor's Last Stand and the Pine Room Podcast and Pine Room Studios platform. So if you haven't checked out any of those things that we mentioned, please do at the Pine Room Studios. Check it out on YouTube. Social media followings would be great if you can do it. We would love that. BLS_PRP and at the Pine Room Studios you can find on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, and etc. As we continue to churn on and churn out good stuff for you. We were at the Freeland Farm last week. We were at the Penitentiary the week before that. We were at Jill's Gentlemen's Club, another one of our great sponsors. They sponsor our Football Friday shows along with Gumby, so thanks to Jill's. We had a wonderful time up there. They were great hostesses, I guess, so to speak. We did a shoot up there, a show. We did the podcast, so if you probably would have checked that out yesterday, we were all in costume. It was fun. Really, really good time. We had President Ronald Reagan join us, so that was good. It was a fun night. Appreciate the ladies' support and everything that Jill's and Gumby's have done to make Football Fridays very fun for us here at the Pine Room. As it's amazing that we're already closing it down now. I think it was our 11th show last week, so it'll be 12th this week. Just crazy. Basketball starting up. We had Coach Joanna Burnaby McNamee from Boston College. She's the head coach at Boston College from Weirton, Madonna. Played at West Liberty, All-American, coached at Maryland, at West Virginia, Albany. Great career. It was great to catch up with her today on the radio, so check us out. Watchdog, I think Job's going to archive that interview and have that up. We have Coach Derek Army on last week for the Nailers, which is a great interview as well, so be looking for those things popping up on YouTube and the various other podcasting platforms to listen to some great head coaches that we've been lucky enough to talk to here over our year plus in existence. But it was great catching up with Joanna today on the Tuesday radio show, WKKX, the Watchdogs. And be sure and stay tuned for more great guests as we continue to push on with the radio show, which we enjoy doing a lot. So we're Tuesdays, noon to 3, Fridays, noon to 3, which is normally a Football Friday show, basically a sports show. The Tuesday show has a little bit of everything in there. We've had some wonderful guests on in the past of all different genres. So continue to check that out on our Monday show. Usually a wrap-up, a recap of what happened over the weekend and a prelude to what we have going on the other 6 hours of radio. So thanks to our Watchdog team and our great colleagues down here, and Kayleen and Lola and Howard and Rocky and Bob Slider, and Donnie Gilbert's struggling with some health issues right now, so hopefully he gets well and back on the radio soon. But got a good group down here with the Watchdog, and we're very happy to be a part of it. Back to us, World Series Game 3 in the books last night. Rangers take it 3-1. Scherzer goes out with an injury. Garcia goes out with an injury. I think the Diamondbacks are still a good value at plus 240. I think they'll win tonight, which is Tuesday. Hopefully by the time you hear this, the series will still be going. Hopefully there's a game 6 and 7 on Friday and Saturday night, which is what I'm looking forward to. I still think D-backs will win it in 7, but we shall see. Texas has not lost on the road in the playoffs this season, so that is something that's really, really impressive, to say the least. So, great World Series, though. I think it should be. It continues to be. It was a good game last night. A couple mistakes cost the Diamondbacks. Base running issue with the third base coach, and then a couple other just bad breaks. Umpires did not help them any at all during the game. So, we shall see. Should be a good World Series the rest of the way out. College football week number 9 is in the books. We're on to week number 10. Oklahoma was the most bet team of week number 9, and they lost outright to Kansas. So Nick and coach's Jayhawks getting the job done there in Lawrence with a big win over Oklahoma. That was my best bet of the week, the Kansas Jayhawks. I actually thought Oklahoma might be able to win the game, but I didn't think they would cover. Oklahoma was teetering on the brink. They've had a lot of tests in a row, and it's tough to stay up. Still think they're a pretty good team. I'm not sure they're a national championship caliber team, but I am impressed that they're a little bit better defensively and in some of their other, the small intricacies of football that they didn't used to have a commitment to. And Lincoln Riley was the coach. I feel like Brett Venables is at least making them accountable on defense and so forth. So I think their program will continue to improve, although they better pick it up because they're going to the SEC next year, which could be quite interesting. But nonetheless, Oklahoma goes down to Kansas. So that was the kind of a little bit of an upset in the most bet team of the week. The public play goes down again. That seems to happen quite a bit. Public all over Texas this week, minus the 4.5 against Kansas State. They'll be in Austin for that one. So we shall see what happens in that contest. Texas playing up and down. I'm not sold on them quite yet. But anyway, starting into the college football card, I'll get picks from Chris, and Coach sent me his as well, so we will put those up on social media. So BLS_PRP and at the Pine Room Studios. You can find all that stuff out. I will have all this stuff posted in ample time for the weekend's games and whatever night of the week they are. Sometimes I like to wait for the numbers to see, because there's sometimes where we'll give a pick out on this show and a number will change or something will happen, or there's information about an injury or something, and we'll get off a game. So what you hear here might not be exactly what it is on the internet or social media, but it'll be pretty close most of the time. Let's start it right off right now. It'll be a Friday night kick, Boston College at Syracuse. Syracuse minus 2.5, total 51.5. I don't really have a play on this game. I don't think that I probably lean towards the over in the game. Syracuse tends to play a little higher scoring games at home with no elements there in the Carrier Dome. Boston College has been a lot better on offense. They did not cover last week, which was good for me because I had UConn. But BC improved on offense. I think they go up there and score some points at Syracuse. Syracuse was horrendous last week against Virginia Tech on the road at Blacksburg. Syracuse, not a team that's going to travel very well to those parts of the world. So I expect them both to put up a decent offensive performance in this game. So I'm going to lean to the over in this game, the 51.5. Connecticut at Tennessee. on Saturday at noon. Connecticut catching 35 at home, total 52.5. I have no play on this. I don't like when the SEC does this and plays these games. I would lean towards UConn, but nothing strong. Wisconsin at Indiana, noon game. Sounds like a snoozer. If you want to sleep in, just put this game on. You'll go back to sleep for at least an hour. Wisconsin minus 9.5. The total 45. Wisconsin off a loss to Ohio State at home, in which they maybe had a better chance of hanging in that game than actually the score indicated, but they were never going to beat Ohio State. They're just inferior in all levels. Indiana battled hard last week. I'll be anxious to see what they can do here. I would lean towards the Hoosiers at home. If I can get 10 or 10.5, I'll be taking them currently. It's 9.5 Wisconsin. So I'll wait to see what that does. If it goes up to 10.5, I'll probably make a play on Indiana. If it stays at 9.5 or 9 or goes down to 8.5, I will probably pass on the game. Ohio State back in action at noon at the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Ohio State minus 19 to total 43. I think this is a little tricky game for them. Rutgers has been exceptional this year, but they don't have a very good offense. I imagine low scoring is in the cards here. Rutgers is going to try to control the ball. Ohio State is built on defense this year, strangely enough. Their offense not nearly as potent, but I think they'll win the game. It'll be a matter of where that line finishes. If I can get around 3 touchdowns, I may take a peek at Rutgers, but as of now, I'm going to go under the 43 points in that one. Nebraska at Michigan State, another Big Ten barn burner here. It'll be the Cornhuskers minus 3 on the road. Total 34.5. Nebraska, Michigan State. I had Michigan State last week, and they hung in the game the entire way against Minnesota, and then some late disastrous outcomes ended up getting them. I thought it was a position where they were going to win the game, and they ended up getting beat easily, at least by the point spread margin. But anyway, I thought they gave a decent performance last week, but I just don't know how good they are. I lean Nebraska in the game minus 3. Both these teams are really bad. Total 34.5. Seems a tad bit low. I think both of these teams are a little better offensively. They probably will match up decently against each other. Both defenses are not quite stifling, so maybe over 34.5 in that one. Arkansas at Florida as we go to the SEC. Florida returns to the Swamp after getting beat pretty badly by Georgia in the outdoor cocktail party game last week. Arkansas has been a team where I backed a lot. I just can't do it anymore, so I'm leaning towards Florida here at 6. If it goes down a little bit, I'm going to play Florida. I don't want it to go up. I know the line move would indicate that the action is sharp on the Florida side, but I think Florida in the Swamp is a pretty decent bet here to bounce back. Arkansas, I got to get off of them. They've hurt me so many times. Keep waiting for them to play. They played one good game the whole season. I can't trust that they will again, so I'm leaning Florida in that game. Staying in the SEC, Texas A&M at Ole Miss minus 3, total 53.5. I think Ole Miss is vastly superior to Texas A&M. I think Lane Kiffin, for all his faults, is a better coach than Jimmy Fisher. So I'll be leaning the Rebels here. Probably going to be a play for me. If it stays a field goal or less, I will be on the Rebels in that game. Big 12 action, Kansas State and Texas. I mentioned this game, public all over Texas here, minus 4.5, total 51.5. I'll be playing K-State. I think K-State goes in there. I've been impressed with K-State the last couple of weeks. They're good, and they're beating teams badly, and they're finishing them off, and they're playing 60 minutes of football, which is rare for even the good teams to do. And I like K-State. I like where they're at. This is a big test for them. I'm not sure they'll be able to win the game, but I think they keep it very close, and they're going to have a chance to cover and win possibly. Total 51. Probably lean towards the over there. K-State's been putting some points up. Texas obviously known for their offense. Going over to the ACC, I guess, half ACC. ACC in basketball. Notre Dame at Clemson. Notre Dame minus 3 on the road at Clemson. 45 the total. This was a game at the beginning of the season people would have thought would be a big game, but it's really not worth mentioning at all right now. I like the under in the game. I think both defenses are strong. I think both offensive lack playmaking ability. Notre Dame probably slightly better. Dabo Swinney on the hot seat, not really, but he's taken a lot of heat from fans. He got into the radio caller the other day, and I think he's starting to feel the pressure a little bit. So lean Notre Dame in the game, but I like the under. Staying in the ACC, Georgia Tech at Virginia. Virginia minus 2, total 54.5. Georgia Tech off a nice win last week against North Carolina. Everybody thought North Carolina would bounce back, but Georgia Tech's a program that I've noticed, kind of mentioned at the beginning of the season, that they've been improving. They had new coaching, transitioning from a strange service academy type offense where they're running a lot of options and stuff. And now they're in their third year with able to recruit for passing, like a normal passing game, a more modernized offense. So I think they are improving. And I didn't like North Carolina. I'm not a North Carolina backer. I think they've been weak all season. And if Miami didn't blow that game to Georgia Tech, I think they would have beat North Carolina. They were kind of down in doom and gloom at that point. But the Yellow Jackets catching 2 here against Virginia. Virginia's played Miami very tough. They lost last week. They obviously beat North Carolina the week before that. I lean Georgia Tech in the game. I think they're a little bit better. But Virginia, you got to tip your hat to them. They've played really hard, and they've just punched above their weight the last few weeks. A program that was a doormat, and they're contending each week now. So it's good to see for the Cavaliers as they continue on. But I'll be back in the Jackets here. I think they're just a little bit better. Pac-12 action, Arizona State at Utah. It's 11 a.m. or no, maybe a 12 p.m. kickoff. I think Utah's Mountain Time. So yeah, it should be a 11 a.m. No, noon. I'm sorry, noon Eastern Time. Noon. No, gosh, boy, I messed that up. Noon local time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. It'll be Utah minus 11. Total 41.5. Arizona State playing some great football right now. Utah. I'm not surprised they got beat pretty bad at home. Oregon, I think, is very good. I think Washington is very good. I think both those teams are playoff caliber teams, and I expect both of them to have a really good chance of making the playoff if the Pac-12 continues and doesn't stub its toe, as it usually does when one of those teams will lose to a team they shouldn't. But in this game, I don't know whether to back Utah bouncing back. I think they're in a spot right now where their season hopes have kind of been dashed. Cam Rising is now sitting out from the NFL, which to me is not a good thing for the program. I'll be passing on this game, but I'll lean Arizona State catching the points in that one. Let's see. Moving along to the Big 12, UCF at the Cincinnati Bearcats. A battle of two teams new to the Big 12, both struggling mightily at the moment. UCF -4 on the road, a total 59. I'll be tempted to play Cincinnati in this game. UCF on paper to me is better than Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's a tough place to play. And I think UCF is showing signs of giving up for the season, as we saw last week, as West Virginia just housed them on their own field. So I like Cincinnati leaning. Don't have a strong play on it, but I'll be leaning towards the Bearcats. Florida State at Pitt. Florida State -22. Total 51. Pat Narduzzi called out his team this week. Tried to backtrack, but he basically said his players suck. Florida State, to me, is not nearly as good as their record. I think they're going to lose a game. I hope it's to Miami, but it wouldn't surprise me if Pitt gave them a better game than expected here. 22 points. If it's cold up at Pitt on the water, it can be tough for Florida teams. I've lived that myself going up to that stadium for Miami games in the past. I want to say Pitt will respond here, but Narduzzi's he's walking a tightrope here. He could lose his team. To me, it's Pitt or pass here. I don't trust Florida State on the road, and possibly an over 51 play as well. Penn State at Maryland as we go back to the Big Ten. Penn State -10.5. Total 50. Penn State just went through the motions last week, made enough plays in the fourth quarter to beat Indiana and get the game over the total, which is good for me. Maryland has been awful the last couple of weeks. They've lost the teams they shouldn't be losing to. I don't know if this is a spot where now they're dangerous because they got nothing to lose, but the Terrapins have really, really went downhill. I don't know what's going on with them, but I like this game under the 50. I think Penn State will flex its muscles defensively, and I think Maryland will have a struggle to score 20 points in this game. I think Penn State wins the game. I'm not sure they covered the 10.5, but I think it's low scoring, and I like the Nittany Lions to win the game money line wise, but definitely not laying 10.5 on the road with a talented Maryland team. They got a quarterback that can make plays, so we'll see if they pick it up this week. Virginia Tech at Louisville, back to the ACC. Louisville -9.5, total 48.5. Virginia Tech looked good last week in Blacksburg, but they're playing Syracuse. Louisville's the best team in the ACC, in my opinion. I think they're better than Florida State. I think they're better than Miami, which isn't hard. I think Louisville's getting slept on here a little bit, and they're tough at Papa John's Stadium. They do not get beat very often in that stadium, and they're laying 9.5 here. I think Virginia Tech has enjoyed its couple of victories against lesser competition, but this is a big step up for them. If you can get less than 10, I would recommend taking the Cardinals. Back to the Big Ten in the maybe the most embarrassing game total in the history of football, but I'm going to tell you a few others that were right up there. Iowa on the road at Northwestern. Iowa -5. The total 30.5. This game opened 29.5, and people actually bet it up to 30.5, which is insane to me. And I've heard people tell me, I can't bet this game. How can I bet this game under? Well, how can you bet it over? These teams don't score. Iowa just doesn't score. They go halves with 2 yards of offense, which they did against Minnesota. How can you feel good about an over? I know it's low, but it's low for a reason, and it's probably not low enough, in my opinion. Iowa Northwestern opened at 29.5. Here's some of the games that you're going to see a startling reoccurrence here with the team that's involved in these. These are some of the lowest totals in recent modern college football. Iowa, Minnesota earlier this year, 30.5. Iowa, Minnesota last year, 31.5. Iowa and Kentucky, 2022, 32. Army, Navy, 32 in 2022. Army and Air Force this Saturday, 32. Arizona, Oregon State in 1995, 33. You see, 3 of the lowest totals ever, 4 are Iowa. So that should tell you all you need to know. It's under for me in this game. I know it's 30.5, but I am not afraid at all about that. Northwestern has played pretty strong, and it wouldn't surprise me if they somehow figured out a way to win this game, being so low scoring. Staying in the Big Ten, another terrible game. Illinois at Minnesota. Minnesota -2. Total 42.5. Minnesota's now won 2 in a row. Maybe it might be 3, but they beat Iowa and Michigan State back to back. Wow, just tough opponents there. They should massacre Illinois here, but I'm not really certain they will. This just looks too easy to me to play Minnesota, who's better than Illinois. Under 42.5 may be the play. But Illinois' defense hasn't been what it was supposed to be, so we shall see. I don't really have a strong play there. Going to the Big 12 now. Houston at Baylor. It'll be Baylor -4. The total, 57. Oh, we had Jake on the Football Friday show last week. Jake Roberts, tight end for Baylor. Just, again, tough game. They just can't seem to muster any momentum right now. They win a game, and then they take a backslide. Lost to Iowa State last week at home. They get Dana Holgorsen in Houston now. I really like the Bears in this game, but that's probably my heart talking. I'm hopeful that they can pull it out, so no real strong play. Next game, Big 12 action as well. It's the Bedlam game, which seems a little early to me this year. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma -6 on the road, a total 62. Now, I would like Oklahoma State a lot in this spot if Oklahoma hadn't lost last week, so that worries me a tad. I think the Oklahoma State Cowboys are maybe my vote for the most improved team from week 1 to where they are now. Mike Gundy, terrific job. He doesn't get talked about enough. He's really good. His teams improve. Oklahoma State's playing great football right now. Another big win last week. They win easily. To me, them and Kansas State are just as good as Texas or Oklahoma in this league. At least they're teams that are continuing to get better. Texas has talent. Oklahoma's kind of hit a lull. They kind of are going backwards. I lean the Cowboys here. If I can get close to a touchdown at home, I'm going to take them definitely. But like I say, it worries me a touch. Oklahoma will be ultra-focused here. Rivalry game, and they just got beat by Kansas, which is another reason why I like Kansas last week, because it was a look-ahead spot for the Sooners. Missouri at Georgia, SEC action. Georgia -16, total 56. Shockingly, Missouri's a top 25 team now, and 16, you say, like, whoa, what the hell's up with that? Sure seems like Georgia should be laying more. This game is between the hedges at Georgia, so I think I would lean Georgia in the game if I can get less than 17. Missouri's been a good story, though. They played well. They got good quarterback play, and for that reason, I'll be going over the 56 total on this game. It's 16 and 56, so I'll be over 56 in Georgia versus Missouri. Going down, Cal Bears on the road at the Oregon Ducks. Oregon -24. The total, 57.5. Oregon off a nice win on the road at Utah. Cal off a terribly stunning defeat. It looked like they were in total control against USC. Then it looked like they weren't going to cover. Then they ended up covering, at least for me, which was good. Probably Oregon or pass here, but I think there could be some points. Cal's offense is much improved, and their defense is not nearly as good as it has been. Oregon, a serious contender for the playoffs. BYU at West Virginia. West Virginia -10, the total 51. The Mountaineers playing really strong right now. They've bounced back from some tough adversity this year. They've had a few games that have really been tough beats for them. I think West Virginia is probably on the cusp of winning another game here. They're laying 10 at home. I think they win the game. Not sure they cover the 10, but it's West Virginia or pass for me. Back to the Big 12, or staying in the Big 12. I guess BYU always fools me that they're in the Big 12, which is weird. Kansas trying to get back on track at Iowa State after the Jayhawks. Oh, no. They won. No, Oklahoma was the one trying to get back on track. Kansas is trying to keep the momentum rolling, catching 2.5 at Iowa State. That's why I don't like Kansas in this game. I like Iowa State. I really don't like laying points with Matt Campbell. I don't think he's a good coach, but I will in this case. 54 is the total, which seems a little high. If I can get less than a field goal with Iowa State, I'll take them. I think Kansas has a little backslide. That they ripped the goalpost down. They jumped into the freaking lake with the goalpost. Those moronic students, which some of them probably got brain-eating amoeba. If you saw that lake, it is disgusting. The algae and plankton or whatever. I don't think plankton can grow in non-salted water, but nonetheless, it was gross stuff, and those kids were swimming in it, and God, I hope they're okay, because that stuff eats your brain out, and if you haven't seen shows on that, please watch. It's dangerous stuff. SEC matchup, Kentucky at Mississippi State. Kentucky laying 3.5 on the road, total 45.5. I lean Kentucky here, but Mississippi State has surprised me several times this year. I was on high on them, but they've played better than I expected, but no real play for me there. Purdue at Michigan. I like under in this game, 48.5. Michigan laying 32.5 at home. I think Michigan wins this game easily. Not sure they cover 32.5, but I do like under. Don't think Purdue will score more than 7 in the contest. Back out west, Washington on the road at USC. I like the Huskies here, laying 3.5. The total 76, which is just outrageous. That's a game I can't play over. I think Washington will make some plays on defense, slow it down a little bit. I like the Huskies, though. 3.5 to me is a steal with them. It almost looks too easy. USC is not going to put up much of a fight. Their season is completely over. Although they played Cal, they at least were able to have a little pride and win last week, but it wasn't easy. LSU at Alabama, maybe the game of the week. It'll be the Crimson Tide -3. LSU on the road at Alabama. Total 59. A lot of people on LSU here. This thing opened 6.5, 6.5, down to 3. I love Alabama in this game. I think they got the better coach. I think they're going to be pumped up. This is the shortest spread that Alabama has had at home since they played LSU back in 2007 when they were laying 6.5. So that should tell you something. Alabama doesn't usually lay 3 at home, and I don't think LSU is stopping anybody. The over in this game may be an intriguing play because Alabama's going to put some points up here against LSU. LSU has made no effort to improve their defense or change their defense this year. They're not good, and that's for that reason I think Alabama makes more stops and wins the game easily. I think I'd even consider doing an alternate line on that and playing it for minus a touchdown, -6, -7, even up to double figures even, because I think Alabama is going to hammer LSU. Miami at North Carolina State, ACC action. Hurricanes -4 on the road, total 45. Full transparency here. Everyone here knows I'm a Miami fan, but I would lean NC State in this game. I think NC State is not any good at all, but Miami, this is the kind of game that they will struggle with. They've just, ever since the game against Georgia Tech, they've not been able to pick up the pieces. They got to win over Clemson. They got 2 OT wins, Clemson and Virginia, in a really, really, really bad league. I would expect a similar game here. If the defense plays well, they'll have a chance to win, but if not, NC State will probably win the game. Back to the Pac-12. Stanford at Washington State. It'll be Washington State -13.5. The total 60.5. Washington State's really hit the skids. They're now 4-4. Stanford's scrappy. If I can get 2 touchdowns with Stanford, I'll lean that way. It's 13.5 currently. Total 60.5. Possibly an under here. I just don't think Washington State's offense has been clicking the way that it had early in the season. Staying in the Pac-12, Oregon State at Colorado. Oregon State -13, total 63. Things are starting to come undone for Coach Prime. He's criticizing his linemen. He's got some injuries. Oregon State, to me, is a vastly better team, better coached. And, again, I'm not taking anything away from what Prime's done. I respect him. He's brought good players into that program, and I'm not saying that he's not building the program, but Oregon State's very, very well coached. They'll have a good game plan here. They'll be very disciplined. They'll control the line of scrimmage, and I think that they'll win this game by more than 2 touchdowns. So I'll be taking the Beavers -13 on the road. Probably lean towards the under, too. I think Oregon State will slow down the Colorado offense. And then finally, Pac-12 action at night, 10:30 kick. UCLA at the red-hot Arizona Wildcats. UCLA laying 2.5 on the road, total 52.5. I like the under in this game, and I like Arizona. Arizona has done everything right and have surprised a lot of people, and I think they keep it rolling. Chip Kelly just doesn't strike me as a guy that can win on the road, so I'll be taking Arizona at home, and I lean towards the under of 52.5 in that contest. A couple other interesting tidbits. Sports Equinox, we had it last night. All the pro sports playing. We had the World Series. We had NHL and NBA action. We had Monday Night Football. It doesn't happen very often. Be the only time this year that happens. So hopefully people enjoyed that. And college basketball begins next week. We talked to Coach Joanna Burnaby-McNamee today from Boston College. We'll be continuing to press forward as we get towards college hoops, which starts next Monday. Don't have any future play for you yet. I'll try to have some of those up. Usually like to give it a little bit of time. It's such a long season. I don't really feel like I got to have those out right now. If you want win total bets, feel free and message us. Contact at thepineroompodcast.com. We'll be happy to give you any ones that we do have, or if you have a team that you're interested in that can give you, some feedback on whether or not I think it's a decent play or whatever. But, yeah, we'll be focusing in on college basketball as college football is already in week number 10, and it's just hard to imagine. But just recapping a couple of things. Actually, not going to recap, but going to tell you a couple of coaches' plays right here. Coach will be on Ohio State, Kansas State, Army, and Penn State. Those are his medium plays. His strong plays: Notre Dame, Ole Miss, James Madison, Georgia State over, Oklahoma State plus the points, Michigan minus the points, and his best bet of the week is the Oregon Ducks minus 23.5. Again, I'll have these all posted on social media so you can check them out. BLS_PRP at the Pine Room Studios on all the social media. We're going to take a quick break here, come back, talk a little NHL, talk some NFL, and then in the third segment of the show, we'll have Sam on talking racing, NASCAR, and F1 boys back in action for at least a couple of more weeks. It's the, I almost said the Pine Room on the Watchdog. Boy, been a long day. Anyway, it's Bettor's Last Stand here. Matt flying solo today. We'll have Sam in a little bit. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand here. Episode number 60 as we push on through college football week 10, pro football week 9. NHL, NBA underway. Not going to talk much NBA at all today. If anything, James Harden got traded yesterday. That's about all there is to say about that. Still too early. These guys are all faking injuries and stuff. And NFL trade deadline was today. There's a couple interesting moves. Redskins look like they're having a fire sale for their defensive linemen. So the 49ers pick up Chase Young, which is interesting. Helps to bolster theirs. They're going to need a good pass rush because their secondary was horrible on Sunday. NHL, just quickly, couple things on that. Goal in the first 10 minutes, first period, overs and unders. Really, really intriguing stuff. I urge you to follow this stuff. Go on Twitter and follow, track the stuff yourself. I'll continue to give them out here each week, update you on who's hot, who's not, and what's going on with those. But you can really find some good value on these plays if you do a little digging. You don't really have to dig. Ian Duncan and Chris Otto, if you just look those guys up on Twitter, you'll find their stats. They have their database right up there. You can click on it. They update it every day. And be able to see the percentages of who is doing what. Goal in the first 10, though, yes, that's like yes to a goal. So a goal was scored in the first 10 minutes of the game, or 9:59. So be sure and check your books. Consult your house rules so you know. Goal in the first 9:59 or 10 minutes. 8-1, the Minnesota Wild are, which is exceptional. The Ottawa Senators 7-1. The Sabres and Flyers both 7-2, and the Oilers, Canucks, and New Jersey Devils all 6-2. Goal in the first 10 minutes. A very, very, very good market to tap into. And then first period overs. Buffalo and Carolina, both 7-2, first period over. Normally, these are going to be posted around 1.5. Occasionally, you'll see a 2 up there if a team is on a real heater. 6-2 teams include Edmonton, Ottawa, Winnipeg, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. All of them 6-2 to first period over the total of normally 1.5 is the standard. First period unders. Here's a couple teams that are trending to the under. You have the Ducks 6-2 to the under on the season. The Coyotes and the Blues 5-2 to the under on the season, and the Dallas Stars 5-1 to the under first period on the season. We'll continue to keep an eye on those as the season goes on. Again, you can find great value on these, and then there's other ways to bet them too. If you see goal in the first 10, and you see it starting to get priced out of whack, so you're looking at minus 180, minus 190. Even I saw a couple go in the first 10 of some of these teams. That I don't want to bet that. I don't want to bet minus 190. That's one thing about this show. We're not going to give you a whole lot of big favorites. We just don't do it. It's not how we play, and it's not how you're ever going to do any good. So if you see stuff where you don't want to lay $17 to win 10 or whatever you bet, whatever your value is, 170 to win 100, you should look at other ways. So first period overs are a way to do that. If you think there's a goal in the first 10, chances are there might be more than one goal in a period. So maybe you look there. If those are getting a little bit out of whack, you go and you say, hey, you know what? Both these teams have pretty decent stats scoring in the first period. They both had a lot of unders. Maybe they'll both score. Both teams that score first period, you're getting a great value. You're getting plus money on that almost every single game, for the exception of a few. So hunt around between the three of those and find the best price, because you can kind of get the same bet, just priced differently and labeled differently. A lot of times they're correlated, whereas if that one happens, the other one's going to happen. If both teams score in the first period, it's going to go over. And if it goes over, chances are both teams could score. So you find the best value, find that plus money, and continue to hunt it out. But NHL has got a lot of great stuff, and I talked about power play points several times on here. If you have any questions, again, messages, Twitter, Instagram, at the email address, contact@thepioneerpodcast.com. Ask. I'll be happy to share more insight about it, but power play points are really good. Find these teams that are good on the power play and bad on the penalty kill. And if you can find them crossing and facing each other, power play points, you're seeing a lot of teams are dependent on a power play, and if you have a team that's good, and there's a good chance they're going to get some power play points. The only thing stopping that is officials, and you can even look those stats up as well. Officials that call the most penalties, that obviously plays a role as well. So you want to look for all that stuff, but definite value on the power play points, because these player markets are getting overpriced here. It's just like home runs. The home run props are just ridiculous. I mean, you're getting guys 2-1, and the first touchdown scorer stuff. These aren't the true odds. In overall touchdown scores, they're just not. They're not true odds, and you're getting ripped off badly. So you got to really hunt and know what you're looking for. We'll continue to try to help you with that. Bad beats of the week. Ravens minus 9.5 against the Cardinals last week. Arizona down 10 with 30 seconds left. They kick a field goal. Well, guess what? It must have been like a week where field goals, they wanted to retry them because of the stupid officials. But the guy missed the kick, but they caught a false start on his teammate. So that negated the kick, technically. So they back him up, and he kicks it again. And guess what? He makes it. And they cover. 31-24 Ravens final. That's a sick beat. It really is. It's terrible. Terrible way to lose when there's no reason to kick a field goal right there. It's just stupid and silly, and I don't understand it. But could be this guy. Caesar Sportsbook took a $100K bet on the Raiders' money line on Monday Night Football plus 275. Yeah, that was a coaster right away as soon as it got printed from the machine. And then this gentleman had a really nice hit, same game parlay, $1,500 to win $99,000. This was all Dolphins. It was Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Raheem Mostert all to score touchdowns, so they all three did. The Dolphins minus 6.5, which they covered. The total of the game over 41.5, which it went over. And Tua to throw 3 or more touchdown passes. All of them got there, and the guy won $99,000. That's a really nice bet, but it doesn't really seem all that far-fetched if you really think about it. The most bet teams of the year in the NFL through 8 weeks. Each week, there's one team that the public's on, landslide-wise. Those teams are 2-6 ATS, so stay the heck away from the public bets, especially when they're as lopsided as that. All right, pro football time, week number 9. Stuff is quite miserable. We have a game in Frankfurt, Germany on Sunday morning. Tennessee and Pittsburgh play Thursday, but I'm not even going to waste my time with those two terrible teams. Kansas City and Miami doing battle in Frankfurt, Germany at the Deutsche Bank Park. And this will be a 9:30 a.m. kick on NFL Network, so at least it gives you something to watch in the morning. Chiefs did not look good here last week, so I would say they're going to bounce back if Mahomes is healthy. But I didn't like what I heard when they said that they're flying over Thursday. That's a concern to me. Dolphins will have been there for several days. I believe they're there now. I don't like the teams that fly over late, so that worries me in this game. I lean to the under. I think this will be a little more of a nip-and-tuck game, but Dolphins will be dangerous, but they haven't really played or beat anybody good. When they play anybody good, they get beat. So I lean Chiefs, but I don't like the time zone issue and the body acclimation, so I'll be going under the 50.5. 1 o'clock kick on Sunday. Minnesota Vikings at the Atlanta Falcons. Vikings traded for Josh Dobbs today. Interesting. Who would have thought Josh Dobbs would be traded at a trade deadline? He was just there to just fill in and lose for the Cardinals, but the guy's played really hard, and he's earned himself a chance with a better team, so good for him. Falcons -5 in the game, total 37.5. Minnesota's played better without Justin Jefferson. They haven't had to force things, but losing Cousins for the year is going to be tough. I'd lean Falcons, but I'm not laying 5 with them. I think they're an awful outfit. They were not good last week. Ritter back to his old tricks. I have no faith in the Falcons, but I don't have much faith in the Vikings either. Maybe an under, depending on whether or not Dobbs plays in the game. He's a pretty smart guy, so he may pick up things pretty quickly, so he could be in action. Seattle at Baltimore. Baltimore -5.5. Total 43. Seahawks took care of the Browns. Ravens went on the road and won, and as we just mentioned, but didn't cover. Should have covered. It wasn't their fault. They did everything they could. Lean Ravens here, but I think this is a tight game. I think the Seahawks are pretty good, and I like this game over 43. I think there will be some points in this game. I think the Seahawks have an interesting defense, kind of a big play, so they can give up some big plays. Baltimore's playing pretty well right now on offense. I think they keep it going, so I like over 43 in that game. Cleveland hosting Arizona. Browns back at home, -8, total 37.5. I don't know who's playing quarterback for Arizona this week, so that's a question mark. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Browns. Will Deshaun Watson finally decide to play? They're laying 8 right now, 37.5. I like under in the game, especially if whoever plays quarterback for Arizona and then Watson doesn't play. It'll be a definite underplay for me, but you got to watch that and see what happens before you make a play there. So I will post these, again, as I mentioned, social media will have all this stuff up, so you can see what we end up going with once we get a little bit clearer picture on the personnel situations. Rams at Packers. Boy, the Packers are dreadful. Packers -2.5 in this game, total 40. I have no idea how this can be, other than Matt Stafford possibly being out. I think the Rams, again, I don't think the Rams are as bad as what they've shown the last few weeks. They got beat around, but they still got some decent weapons on offense, and I think that they're dangerous here. The Packers, to me, have zero chance of progressing. They have a terrible coach. They have a terrible quarterback, and they're not going to get any better. And I just think people have got to start – you got to start to adjust here. The Packers, 40 in these games, and the Packers are almost too high. I expect the Rams to win this game handily, and likely the game stays under because I don't think Green Bay scores more than 13 in this game. Tampa at Houston. Houston -2.5, total 40. Houston did not play very well last week off the bye. Carolina gets his first win. Houston could have made some plays, but, hey, more film's coming out on Stroud. Teams are figuring it out. Tampa's in a really bad spot right now. They've not played well at all. Lost last week. They did cover against Buffalo, but I'll lean Houston here at home. If I can get less than a field goal, I think the Texans bounce back. They are well coached, and I think Stroud will bounce back as well. Washington, as I said, fire sale time looks like here. They head to New England, which is probably a good place for them to go right now because New England's horrible too. The Patriots -3, total 40. Redskins selling off half of their defensive line right now, which is not going to be good for morale. I mean, maybe this is a game New England gets healthy, but I like the under of 40 in the game. I can't lay 3 with the Patriots, and I would not be backing the Commanders either. As I said, morale's got to be very, very low. They get the good news that Dan Snyder's not the owner anymore, but then they decide to fire sale the team. But that tells me Ron Rivera's gone. They'll fire him hopefully tomorrow because he's absolutely horrible. Bears at Saints. Bears catching 7 on the road, total 41. This is too high. Bears have played a little bit better since the Shepard kid took over. Shepard, Rams quarterback from Martinsburg, has been playing all right. I mean, yeah, they're not winning games. They split out with them, but 7's too much for the Saints to be laying against anybody. I'm leaning Bears here, depending on the availability of If Fields plays, I don't want the Bears. But if the other kid plays, I think they could keep it within 7. So I'll be leaning Bears there. Colts at Carolina. Colts minus 2.5. Total 44. Colts were horrible last week. Minshew's turnovers were just disgusting. They really had a chance to win that game against the Saints. They actually played better than the Saints. They just made the inopportunistic turnovers. So I will be going with the Colts here, minus 2.5 on the road. I know that's absurd to be laying points with the Colts on the road. It's just unthinkable, actually. Carolina, though, off a win. I don't know if they can keep any momentum going. If it gets above a field goal, I'll take Carolina. But I lean Colts right now if I can keep it under 2-1, somewhere in there. Giants at the Raiders. Oh, another awful game. Boy, this NFL card is really bad. Raiders minus 3, total 38.5. Giants, I can't believe they lost that game to the Jets last week. They looked like they were going to win. Graham Gano's hurt, and he misses a chip shot field goal. The Jets get a miracle throw down the field, get into field goal range, tie it, and win in overtime. Just disaster for the Giants. But I think they bounce back here. I think this is a game where they can feel good about themselves, despite only having, having minus 9 passing yards last week. If that's even possible, you wouldn't expect that in 2023, minus 9 pass yards. But Tyrod Taylor got hurt. They had to bring in, Jimmy DeVito, I think that's his name, from Syracuse. That was not good. But I think they'll be a little bit more prepared here. The Raiders are not prepared for anybody. Josh McDaniels, clearly not a head coach. He needs to just go back to New England or go to Alabama or somewhere where he can be a good coordinator in college and have an easy life. I'll take the Giants, though, plus the 3. If it goes up, I'll continue to take the Giants. If it goes down, still not playing the Raiders. And possibly an under 38.5. Dallas at Philadelphia, 425. Kick Fox game of the week. Philadelphia minus 3, total 46.5. Philadelphia's not playing well at all, but I think they get really healthy here. I think they steamroll Dallas. Dallas, they're smoke and mirrors. They played good at home. They beat some teams at home, but they can't beat anybody good. They're like the Miami Dolphins of the NFC. They can't beat anybody good. So until they beat somebody good, I'm not believing in them. Philly will push them around, beat them up, and they'll cover the 3 for sure. I like over in the game, though, too. I think there'll be a lot of points. Philadelphia, explosive. Dallas, explosive. I think there's some big plays to be had in this game. Sunday Night Football, Bills at Bengals. Bengals minus 3, total 48.5. What a transformation. But I don't really think the Bengals have beat anybody. Last week's win, pretty decent, but the 49ers are obviously in a tough spot right now. They've lost 3 in a row, so I wouldn't be patting myself on the back if I'm a Bengals supporter. I still think the Bengals are complete frauds. The Burrow-Chase connection is the only thing saving this team from being probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. I still think they'll finish last in the AFC North. It's just a matter of time before they start to play some real teams again. They got Buffalo this week. Buffalo's not been very good, but Buffalo's tougher. Buffalo's a little better coached, and I think Buffalo maybe can cover this spread. I'm a little worried about Buffalo's defense, though. Losing Matt Milano's just not been easy to overcome, so that's going to be a problem. But the Bengals, to me, they're just average at best, and it's Burrow thrown to Chase. That's literally it. It's all they have. I don't think they're one-dimensional teams can't win in the NFL going in the long term. So I'll be against the Bengals. I know that's an unpopular decision, but I see what I see, and other people choose to see what they see. Anyway, Monday Night Football, Chargers at Jets. It'll be the Chargers on the road, minus 3, total 41.5. Really like the under in this game. I think it'll be a very low-scoring game. Jets got a pretty good pass defense, although their defense isn't quite as good as I was told it was going to be. But they do make enough plays. I think they'll limit Herbert a little bit, make them be one-dimensional, have to run the ball a little bit more. Jets, they're scrappy. They're playing hard. Zach Wilson's playing hard. I don't think they'll score very many here, but I do like the under. I don't think I would trust the Chargers covering 3.5 or 3 against anybody, especially on the road. And I'm not taking the Jets either, despite and probably because of last week's game. They're very fortunate to have won that, and they can't cheat death again that quickly after 1 week to the next. I just don't see that happening. So I will be taking the under in that ball game. See if I got any other notes here. No, I don't think. That's pretty much concludes the NFL. Trade deadlines today, as I mentioned. Titans now 6-0 off the bye under Mike Vrabel, so keep that one locked away for next year. The Chiefs were the most bet team of the week. Again, I said 2-6 on the season, 24-9 they lost to the Broncos last week. But that will do it for NFL week number 9. Let me give you a coach's rundown here real fast for his pro picks. His leans are the Kansas City-Miami game over 50.5, so I'm a little against him on that one. The Pittsburgh and Tennessee game under 36.5, which is going to happen last night, so you're not going to hear that anyway, which under probably is a pretty strong play. His strongest plays are Houston -2.5, the Saints -6.5, and his best bet of the week are the New England Patriots -3.5 against the lowly Commanders, who are having a fire sale. All right, that does it for the NFL segment of the show. We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Sam about racing. Finally, something that'll make us smile here, although hockey does too. But football, it's just mundane, and it's just boring, and it's ruined by officials, and it's tough to watch. A lot of bad teams, a lot of bad quarterbacks, a lot of bad coaches. Maction tonight too. If you're watching this Friday, you'll say, oh, okay, Maction was this week. So those will be cranking up each Tuesday, Wednesday. So you got football everywhere. Find something else. My advice is branch out, look for some other things to bet on, because you'll have a lot more enjoyable experience than betting on football and having to live with penalties and mistakes and not taking the points and going shotgun on 4th and 1 or 4th and goal. And these people continue to just amaze me. But what do I know? I'm sitting here in a studio in downtown Wheeling trying to act like I know something. So, all right. We're going to take a break here on Bettor's Last Stand, come back and talk to Sam about NASCAR at Phoenix and the F1 boys staying in this hemisphere and going down to Brazil. I almost did it again. It is Bettor's Last Stand. We will be right back.
Bettor's Last Stand is for entertainment purposes only, but who better to listen to than the guys here at the Pine Room? For more picks you might have missed, follow Bettor's Last Stand and all of Matt's picks on X, formerly Twitter, at BLS_PRP. Because just like General Custer, we're in Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in Bettor's Last Stand, show number 60 here. Matt alone in the studio, but I got Watchdog with me, and I got the Champire drawing right here from Jubb. So, but now we're joined by Sam, so I wasn't totally lonely today as Coach and Chris are out of action here on a Tuesday afternoon. Sam, thanks for joining us. As always, NASCAR down to its final week, buddy. It's kind of depressing, wouldn't you say?
Matt, it's really depressing. It's about as depressing as the weather these kids had to trick-or-treat in.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah, it feels like winter for the first time today.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. But yeah, when I was going over the numbers and I looked at the schedule and it was like, this is the end, man. There's nothing after this.
No, it's horrible.
Breaks my heart.
It does, and we'll be counting down the days till Daytona. Seems like we were just in the studio talking about Daytona and the season back last February. And here we go. Now it's already over. Kevin Harvick's last race of his career. Well, maybe not. You never know. He may come back in limited capacity or something. But yeah, it's kind of sad. I gotta say, as far as much as I'm looking forward to watching this race this weekend, I don't want it to end.
I don't either. And this is like no racing after this. You know, F1 is done.
Yeah, a couple weeks left.
It's been done.
Yeah, the only thing
I'm looking forward to is that Vegas.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Because of intrigue to see how fucked up it is or whatever.
I seriously, not about how good it's gonna be. It's like, how fucked up is this race?
Yeah,
you hit the nail on the head.
And that's sad that we have to talk about it like that. But it sounds like the people in Vegas are already pissed about it. So I don't know. I'm hopeful that it goes well, but I'm not confident that it will. But who knows? Maybe. We'll keep our fingers crossed. F1 boys last week, obviously same old story. Max Verstappen on top. He leads 59 laps. Charles Leclerc led 12 of the laps. So, I mean, it wasn't a terrible performance. The one guy, though, we talked about last week, and I think it's the final nail in the coffin. So it's over for Sergio Perez. I know he crashed, but I mean, maybe it wasn't his fault totally, but come on. It's over. Your home Grand Prix, you can't even finish in the top 6. It's all over for him. Get out of there. Red Bull's got to go a different direction.
Yeah, they do. And it didn't help at all that Daniel Ricciardo ran incredibly for an AlphaTauri.
Right.
You know, they needed any excuse to inch him closer to that seat, and you said it, Matt. He crashed. Ricardo ran well.
Yeah.
Writing's on the wall.
Yeah, so Danny Ricciardo finishes 7th, and yeah, you're right. That's a springboard to him getting better equipment now and getting on a better team. Definitely, it has to be the move. Just really disappointing. Aston Martin, equally disappointing. Lance Stroll, we don't ever count on him, but Fernando, another bad performance by him. What do you think the future of Aston Martin is after the next couple of weeks?
Matt, I don't know what the hell happened to them. I mean, they started the season. I thought they'd be up there with the Ferraris and McLarens, and they are down there with the AlphaTauris and pretty much where they were.
Yeah,
when
finishing.
Vettel and Stroll were the drivers.
They're finishing below the guys from Williams and Alfa Romeo. It's usually not a good sign.
Brutal. It's just brutal.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think Fernando Alonso still has got a little bit left in the tank. Obviously, Lance Stroll is gone, thank God. So we'll see what they do with that seat and if they can pick it back up. But, yeah, they kind of started out hot. They were kind of going to be the new team, kind of in the mix. And then McLaren obviously took them over, before around the midway point of the season. And they've been pretty strong. Mercedes has been all right. Speaking of Mercedes, this was one of the few races that a Red Bull didn't win last year. George Russell getting the job done. Mercedes actually ran 1-2 in this race. And if I remember correctly, I mean, the Red Bulls just didn't have it at this course. I mean, they didn't have any mechanical issues. They just didn't have it.
No, nothing. I think Max finished 6th, and he didn't start on pole. I know that, but.
Yeah, no, he started 3rd. I'm looking at it right now. He started 3rd, and Sergio Perez finished 7th. So they finished 6-7, started 3-4.
I just think maybe. I don't know if it's going to happen. A Mercedes just, coming out of nowhere with a victory. They've been, Lewis in particular, not George, but Lewis has been very hot these last 2 races. They seem like they've got something that he's really up there pushing to, he's up there with Max.
Yes.
He's passing the Ferraris. He's passing the McLarens.
Yeah.
That's my only hope of another victor in this race.
Yeah, and Lewis finished about 10 seconds ahead of the next pack of cars, which was the 2 Ferraris and the McLaren guys and then his teammate. But you're right, Hamilton's been knocking on the door here. He was 2nd last year in this race, and this may be a track that just sets up well for them. And if it's one of those few tracks where Red Bull doesn't have a pronounced dominance, I would say that it's live for maybe one of these guys, depending on how they qualify. I guess we'll see. But I'd say if you're going to take a shot to knock off a Red Bull, which actually when I say Red Bull, it's just Max now because Sergio's been gone for about the last 7 or 8 races. But yeah, I'd say this has a chance to be a Mercedes weekend. And then I'm anxious to see how the McLarens do run because they did not have a good outing here last time, but they had a gearbox failure and a crash. So I don't know. There wasn't enough laps to be able to gauge how good they actually could have been. So. Potentially, maybe they can be in the mix, but do you think that Mercedes is the most likely winner, or would you say Ferrari would have a chance as well?
You know what? I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go with the Mercedes.
Yeah,
I'm going with Lewis. I love Lewis. Ferrari has too many issues. Like they either run really well or they just don't. Mercedes is like. They might be like 2nd or 3rd, but they don't have like mechanical failures or like engines blow up like Ferrari. Right.
Like they may not be as good as the Red Bull week in, week out, but they don't have the stupid mistakes. Whereas the Ferraris will either have a mechanical meltdown of some kind that's not the driver's fault, or if the driver has a good car, the driver will fuck it up somehow. That's just the way that those 2 guys operate. So yeah, I have little faith that Ferrari's anything other than basically a top 6 team. I think they'll run in the top 6 if their car's running, and that's about it because they're better than the rest, but they're not good enough to win. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Mercedes has a shot. I will be interested to see how McLaren does. And then, obviously, Verstappen, I'm sure he'll be motivated since this is one of the tracks he didn't win at last year.
I know.
So he may be out to get some revenge there. Any other dark horse guys that you're looking at? Bottas wasn't terrible last week. Just couldn't get in the top 10.
That was my guy. I have Alfa Romeo, and I have in parentheses Bottas, and I have the Alpines, both Alpine drivers. I think they can get into the top 10.
Okay, I like it. Maybe a couple double top 10 for Alpine. I like that. And I mean, like we said before, I think Valtteri Bottas is just he's kind of wasting away. But I don't know.
Yes, he is.
I just wonder if he'll. I don't know. I don't know what his future holds. If any of the other bigger teams would try to take a shot with him or what, but his equipment currently is limiting him. But I don't know. Hopefully it'll be a little bit of an improvement. One of these years we're going to talk about how there's like 6 teams that have a chance to win each week, which would be awesome.
I know. It just doesn't seem like that's possible.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
Really doesn't.
They just shuffle around. Like the top guys stay the same, and the bottom feeders just shuffle around, man.
Yeah, it's sad. They need to try to pick that up to make it a little bit more even. That's one good thing we have in IndyCar and NASCAR is, level playing field. You got a lot of teams in competition and evenly matched. So we look forward to those days of F1 if we can ever get there. But we're winding down right now. There's only we got Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi left after this week in Brazil. So again, kind of sad, but yeah, F1 has been for as fun as it is to watch. It is a little bit limited as far as excitement and different outcomes. So that part they lack quite a bit. NASCAR does not lack that as we switch over. A wonderful race again last week. Ryan Blaney, I was counting this down. This was one where I was like begging because I had obviously had Blaney and I had Truex, and then Truex another just again a great car and just
I know.
I mean again, I mean it's just it's this team just always has something go wrong. It seems like, and he made a good effort to try to get back up there, but it just wasn't going to have enough time. And so then I was down to Blaney, and man, I was begging because Eric Almirola had a great car out of nowhere. Really, I mean he's had a solid run though, but I mean just not a track he's known to be great at. What were your thoughts on the race overall? It's pretty good.
It was a damn good race, and something about Blaney with this pressure on him.
Yeah,
I'm not shocked, but it's like, holy shit, is this the next step, the evolution of Ryan
awesome.
Blaney? Like, is he gonna be like a Larson-ish,
Yeah.
Because there was just like no doubt once he was up there that he's gonna be there.
You could see it.
No doubt.
You could see him picking off those lap cars, and it was like, and obviously the cars that were on the lead lap, but like he's just weaving around him, and you're just like, the only thing that's going to stop him right now is either he's going to make a mistake, which I didn't think he was going to, or there was going to be a caution or something, and then you never know what's going to. But he was by far the best. He was locked in. You knew he was coming. He was going to take all those guys down, and was just going to run away and hide once he got up there.
Yeah, and he did. And my biggest worry was Denny doing something stupid.
Yeah, I know.
I thought Denny was going to do something stupid. Yeah, and get a caution, and then they're all bunched up.
Right,
again, but
right. Which would have been
happen.
really his only shot because he couldn't get enough positions with where Byron was, so that was tough. But I mean, he ran well. Like I said, Almirola was strong. Chase Briscoe showing signs of life. He's had a good run there. So we had another good top 10 out of him. We had a couple other guys that we had kept an eye on last week that ran well. Logano was good again.
Gilliland.
Yeah, Todd Gilliland. How about that?
That's a shocker.
Yeah, I know. Out of nowhere. But, yeah, so we're down to the final four. It's Bell, Larson, Blaney, and Byron. Man, this is going to be really, really exciting here. All these guys pretty strong at this track, which is going to make for exciting racing. Currently, Larson is the plus 160 favorite, followed by Byron at plus 265, Blaney at 270, Bell at plus 345. Well, I'm going with Blaney only because I have a ticket on him and I want him to win. But, man, I have a sneaking suspicion that William Byron is going to be tough this week.
Yeah, he was real good last year here, or the previous race.
Yes,
here.
He was. He won the spring race last. He won the spring race this year, and he was 6th in the fall race last year. So, yeah, strong runs for him. Blaney was 2nd, 13th in the spring, but 2nd last year in this race. Bell was, I think, 10th and 5th in the two most recent ones, and then Larson, 2nd in the spring, and I think he was 9th in the fall race last year. So, all the guys run well. Who are you going with? I mean, Hendricks are going to be tough, I think.
They are. This, I would say, is the toughest pick of the year. I was staring at this last night, and I thought about it today. I have 4 people to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
It's Blaney, Reddick, Byron, and Larson, and I think I'm going with the outlier. I'm going with Reddick. I think Reddick's going to get it done.
I think he very well could. He's a guy that's, Chris picked him last week. He ran pretty well. I would say I mean, there's going to be a motivation here for some of these guys to kind of play, spoiler and try to, end the season on a positive note. And then it becomes, if one of these guys doesn't win the race, then it's that crazy points. You just don't know what's going to happen. which
you
is
gotta finish ahead of
kind
so-and-so.
of going to be all right in a way because it's gonna really come down to hopefully the last laps. Hopefully none of the guys have catastrophic failures or anything like that. You'd like to see it decided on the track, but can't really control that. Do you think there's any shot Kevin Harvick goes out with a bang? I mean, he's got 9 wins at this track. If there was ever a track for him to win on his swan song, it would be this one.
Yeah, he's in my sleepers. I have Briscoe, Harvick, and Eric Almirola as my sleepers.
Yeah.
Something about Harvick being the last race. You might see that number 4 right up there. I hope too. Honestly, for his sake, I hope.
Yeah, no, I'd be cool with that. I would. I think he's really been an ambassador for the sport. He's going to do good when he's in the booth though too. So he won't be far away. And I like the Almirola pick too because, like I said, it's weird. It's the same stuff that happened to him last year. Like he started racing so good at the end of the year, he couldn't retire. It's like, unretire again, dude, because you've been running very well. And then Briscoe saving his chair midway through the season. We're saying this guy's got to be fired. He's horrible. Couldn't even get in the top 30. And now he's locked in. Obviously, it helps when you get tracks that you're suited to drive well, but you need some racing luck and some confidence. And I don't see why that would stop here. Yeah, I had Harvick and Briscoe as my long shot guys. I thought possibly Austin Cindric was worth a peek. I'm curious to see how his future goes. Don't know. Haven't seen enough consistency. As we talked about how good Ty Gibbs has been, Cindric has been the opposite of that. Just not quite good enough.
No, not quite good enough. I barely have heard his name or even seen him this year, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked about it. The only reason he'll probably stick around is because his dad.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to give him another
things.
year, but if he starts to struggle again next year, he's got to pick it up because you're getting top level equipment. You got Logano and you got Blaney. They're not having any issues. I mean, Logano's had some bad luck. I mean, that's not really indicative of how good he is. But yeah, so you're getting great stuff here. You got to be able to do better than just road courses occasionally and that super speedways. You got to be able to start to figure out these these miles and mile and a half type tracks, or you're going to be out of the sport pretty quick.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race. I think it's going to really be a great race, and I don't like Phoenix as the last.
Me either. But
I mean, everything is lining up.
Yeah, no, I thought having Martinsville last week, that might be a good way to end it. That was a really good race, just outstanding. And even Homestead was okay. But yeah, Phoenix not one of my favorite tracks either. But this is what we're stuck with. It's got good weather, I guess, so that's a good thing. At least we don't have to worry about that.
That's all that matters.
But yeah, it's couple other thoughts here on the race. Kyle Busch, season kind of, it looked like it was going to be an all right year, and then just hasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's just like something's not working there for him. Where do you see him? Do you see him improving next year, or kind of the same?
I think he's going to be kind of the same, simply because I think this is the difference between like a Hendrick and Gibbs and a Richard Childress racing team. I think that there's just something in there that's just, it's not getting done for Kyle Busch. And maybe he knows it too. Maybe he's just so used to JGR and what they did for him. And
he may.
It just is not, it doesn't seem like the same thing. He doesn't seem like the same guy. He doesn't have like that attitude he used to have. Which probably made him drive better.
Yeah.
Realistically.
No, I think it did. Driving with that edge. Yeah. No, I agree. There's definitely something missing from the Childress team. And, occasionally they'll be in contention, but man, Austin Dillon, what a terrible season he's had. I mean, just a couple races recently he's ran okay, but just overall not contending at all. And then, Busch, it's not because of a lack of quality behind the wheel. It's something that's underneath. It is missing from those teams, the smaller teams, and not all of them. But I mean, you have some of the teams making some progress. The 2311 team has been a little bit better this year, and then obviously Trackhouse had up and down, maybe not quite as good as they were last year, but still solid. But yeah, I would say that Richard Childress needs to get it together here, because Penske's not going anywhere. The Stewart-Haas guys are pretty solid. Hendrick obviously is not going anywhere, and Gibbs is not going anywhere, so they better pick it up quick.
Yeah, and I read something today that A.J. Allmendinger may be giving up his cup seat to Ty Dillon.
Are you shitting me?
I know. I swear to God.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I don't think Ty Dillon's that terrible, but, I mean, I don't know.
He's great.
No, I don't either. But I don't. I mean, Allmendinger's had a good season. He won. I mean, geez.
He's been up front a couple times.
Yeah, and he's starting to get better at these intermediate tracks, which, he's known as a road racer, but he's getting on these heavy shift tracks. Like, he was pretty good last week, and he's been good here at Phoenix before. So, yeah, that would be an interesting decision. It should tell you all you need to know that Ty Dillon's own grandpa won't put him on his team, so that'll tell you all you need to know.
No, you're right. You're so right, man. There's nothing else I need to know.
Because his brother's got the ride, but he doesn't, so that should just tell you what grandpa thinks. But I don't know. We'll see. Any other things that you're looking forward to about the race this weekend? Anybody else stand out to you, or guys you're looking for that might be their last race in the Cup Series or in their current ride?
I mean, there's a lot of drivers changing, teams next year. I mean, Colleague's going to look new.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm just thinking of who's driving their last race. I mean, Nemechek's going to be driving next year.
He'll be back up.
Josh Berry will be driving next year.
Yeah, and Haley's switching teams.
Right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird because, I mean, they got to fill the Stewart-Haas seat. They got to fill, what's the other seat? Shit.
Well, they'll probably have, who's taking over Almirola? Because Stewart-Haas really going to lose two guys, right? Because they lose Harvick, but who did they already say was in one? I feel like one of those has already been decided, but I
think one of them's Josh Berry.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. And that leads me to the next question: is Alex Bowman, is next year the year? Like, he done? I mean, I know he had injury this year, whatever. We started out pretty good. But he's got to start to take it because Chase Elliott's going to bounce back. He's going to have a strong year. And if his buddy Blaney somehow wins the title, it's going to motivate him even more because they're like buddies, and I'm sure they're going to want to go at each other pretty hard. And then when you have Byron and Larson on your team, I mean, you just can't be that bad as Bowman has been. So I thought it was interesting because I thought maybe Josh Berry would end up taking his spot, but then Josh Berry already got his own ride, so he didn't need to worry about the ties to the Hendrick guys. But I don't know. Should be interesting. Any last thoughts on the how about the RFK guys? Pretty solid season overall. They showed a lot of progress. Kind of fizzled out here late, but been a pretty good year for them, I'd say.
Yeah, they got about all they could get, out of that squeeze that they had. They had a run, man, where they were
yes,
10, 12 races, maybe even more, that they were just up there every week.
Yeah.
So. Made me eat my words. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a lot of us too. After Keselowski last year.
Even Buescher, though.
Yeah,
who would have thought Buescher had a season like this?
It's exceptional. Yep. Shows you. Sometimes it does make, because I always wondered. I was like, how is Chris Buescher keeping a ride all these years? And now I realized maybe it was just the right fit for him, and he was better than what I realized. So I don't know. Should be a great one, though, at Phoenix. We look forward to it, and sadly it will come to an end, but hopefully Daytona will come upon us very fast, and we can get through the winter without being too depressed. Switching over, World Series last night. I think this is going to go 7 games. I really do. 3-1 game. Arizona had some bad luck. The running through the stop sign with the slow-ass runner, that hurt. And then there's a few other things.
Only guy that can't do that.
Right. Exactly. Amazing. And then, strike zone at some points of the game was, goodness gracious. So, I expect them to bounce back, though. I think this will go 7 games. I really do. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched and playing, up to par with each other. What do you think?
Yeah. So far, it's been great. I mean, I know there was that one little blowout game, but I mean.
Yeah, but that was pretty tight till like the 7th inning, and it's kind of got away. But yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like baseball definitely was not thrilled that these two teams were the final ones left because there's not a lot of star power. There's really not. Even the stars that are on the Rangers.
Yeah.
Even the D-backs, like Corbin Carroll, baseball doesn't do enough to promote this guy. So
no, they don't.
We know he's good. We know he's good, but I mean, if you just tune in, you don't know who that guy is.
No, and Marte, like we said last week, that guy's been good for a long time. He hasn't had anybody to go with him. Now he's starting to show what he is, but again, nobody knows him. People think this guy's like brand new, and he's not. Corey Seager gets a little bit of notoriety just because he was on the Dodgers, but even he's a quiet superstar. Not on any posters, not on any commercials. I mean, all the guy does is just clutch hit in the playoffs, and he can't. He's too quiet. They don't want a guy like that.
Yeah, it's like they show the World Series, they go to commercial, and Francisco Lindor's on a Corona commercial on the beach. So it's like, well, this guy's a shortstop, and he's on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah, he may never play in the fall again with the
Never.
way that his teams are going.
Never.
But yeah, for the money they pay that guy. But yeah, looking forward to the World Series finishing up this weekend. Hopefully it goes 7 games, and we have exciting games to watch. NFL-wise, boy, another dark week for the NFL. So a lot of bad teams, a lot of bad officiating, just calls blown, guys getting hurt. Trade deadline today, Redskins are having a fire sale, it looks
What's
like.
up with that?
Jesus.
Did they trade Sweat?
Yes, and they traded Chase Young. So, yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
Who did Sweat go to?
He went to the Bears. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I know. It's like not really a contender. I know. At least like maybe I can sneak into playoffs. I don't know. I feel like the morale for the Redskins have got to be way down right now after that.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, that. You're done. Your season's over.
Yeah, just pack it in. I mean, I don't know how you go on. Like it's writing's on the wall, and then I guess the Ravens had a deal to get Derrick Henry, and the owner nixed it for the Titans. So that was going to happen. So I don't know. I'll see if anything else happened. They haven't announced, but NFL, I don't know. There's probably like 5 decent teams, and everybody else sucks.
Sucks. I mean, the Steelers, they were arguing on 93.7 The Fan on the way home if Kenny Pickett is the worst quarterback in the NFL. And, the argument was no, obviously, but he's in the bottom 5.
He's in the bottom 5, yeah. And I don't think he's horrible. I really don't.
No.
But he's not probably a starter at this point. He hasn't shown enough. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what – is Trubisky going to start Thursday? I heard Kenny said he's playing for sure.
I don't know. Here's my thing. Mason Rudolph is Big Ben Roethlisberger's successor.
He should probably be the guy.
He should be your number 2. He's been here the longest. He knows the offense. He looks like a quarterback.
Yeah. I wouldn't hesitate to put him in there either. I think it's kind of silly what they got going. But if their defense doesn't make plays for them, they have very little chance in any game. Although I do think they can beat the Titans. Anything else stick out on the card this week? I know it's a little early for any touchdown parlays. Well, good job last week, though. Yeah,
Pierce needed that ball,
Pierce.
Man.
Yeah, you got to Gabe Davis, and then Lawrence. I mean, he had a million chances. Christ, they were in a red zone every damn drive. But, that one hurt. But, yeah, Gabe Davis got the week started off right at least for us.
Yeah, he did. But this Thursday, I mean, it is a disaster because the Steelers play. It really is.
Yeah.
So here we go. There's a Will Levis anytime touchdown, which is plus 550. I could easily see him scrambling into the end zone.
Yeah.
They're in the red zone all the time because Pittsburgh defense, I mean, it's good, but they cannot do everything.
The bend but don't break, and they don't have Minka. That's hurt.
Right. And then there's also a Pittsburgh defense anytime touchdown, which is plus 650.
I like it. I think that's probably a really good play because rookie quarterback, he looked good last week, but that Pittsburgh defense, the pass rush alone is going to cause some problems for him. So, yeah.
Gets sliced and diced. And then there was also a Will Levis over under 1.5 touchdowns, which is plus 195. It doesn't shock me at all if that gets done. You throw 4 your first game.
Right.
Pittsburgh's defense is like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, well, at least Jerry Porter Jr. has been named a starter now, finally.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That'll get the morale boosted.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Coach T got him ready to go. All right, well, anything college-wise stick out to you? Our poor Baylor Bears. Oh, God, poor Jake. Up and down and up and down. Every time I think they got some momentum, they go crashing down. Yeah, I don't know. Alabama, LSU, any thoughts on that one? I like Bama, but I don't
I like Bama. The only thing I really liked was Oklahoma State over Oklahoma.
I think Oklahoma State's playing great football right now.
Their running back is on a roll, man.
Yeah, well, you were down there at that game where he torched the Mountaineers.
Nobody touched him.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of like when Melvin Gordon and like those Wisconsin running backs, they get on runs, it's like 200-yard game.
Monty Ball, yeah.
Yeah.
Ron Dane way back, but
shout out.
All right, Sam, thanks again for joining us here on a special Tuesday version of the show, but have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the show next week. And again, thanks for everything. Enjoy the last few hours of racing we have before winter.
I know. I will, Matt. We'll be in touch.
All right, buddy. Thanks again.
Yep, good talking to you.
You too. All right, that was Sammy P. from Upper St. Clair checking in, as always, in his wonderful spot to talk racing and other things. Appreciate his analysis. Great job, as always. Thanks to my co-hosts, the Watchdog, and Champire, the picture down there. Yeah, it was a good show. Glad everybody tuned in and enjoyed, and we'll see you next week as we get towards Thanksgiving. It's hard to imagine bowl season will be here before too long. But have a great weekend. Enjoy the game action. Hopefully you get some winners. And we appreciate you following the show. Check us out on the Watchdog Network and on the Pine Room Studios on the YouTube page. BLS_PRP on social media, along with at the Pine Room Studios. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the Pine Room Studio next week on Bettor's Last Stand.